every other city is jealous of San Mateo. So I really had a whole new appreciation of just all the great work that the department does and all the staff do. When I saw everyone else talking about like, oh, you're from San Mateo. Wow, so I was like, oh, cool. So yeah, I just really appreciate it. And the only other thing I was thinking, you should change the bylaws so I could serve.
I know.
Because I really love to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to item 2, consent calendar, approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2023. I guess first, does anyone have any changes or amendments? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the May minutes?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Giovanna, will you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Massey?
Aye.
Vice Chair Hell, oh my goodness, Volnick, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is passed.
It's the H. Okay. Next is public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the commission at this time. State law prevents us from taking action on any matter not on the agenda. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. Public comment is limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, an opportunity for additional public comment may be provided later in the agenda. I also just wanted to remind everyone, or maybe tell you for the first time, that the item, which item number was it? 6. The Bay Meadows Park name change has been postponed to a later date. So if you're here to speak on that issue, now is the public comment for you to address the commission. Do we have any hands raised? I don't see, and no one's in the audience here, so.
So we have 4 members of the public, no hands raised at this time.
Okay. All right, then I will close public comment. Moving us right along to our agenda. Item 3, Park and Recreation Commission non-voting youth advisory members informational. I will turn it over to staff.
Sure. I'd like to introduce our Assistant City Attorney, Mazarine Maria.
Yeah.
And she is going to handle the presentation for you all.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm Mazarine Maria, as Joanne said, I'm from the City Attorney's Office. The City Attorney Prasanna Razai wanted to join, but he had a family member test positive, so he is just at home in an abundance of caution tonight. So on this item, a very brief staff presentation is that earlier this year, as you likely know, the City Council approved an ordinance that changed the composition of the Parks and Recreation Commission. The City Council passed an ordinance in February of this year to add 2 non-voting youth advisory members, youth commissioners, to the Parks and Rec Commission. The members need to be between 13 and 17 years old at the time of appointment. And they have to, I understand, present written documentation and apply for the position. And they will be joining you to hopefully, extend the city's outreach to the youth and get them involved in the civic process, which, as we've seen tonight, can, create really good civic engagement and service to the city. So I'm just here to present this brief report and answer any questions you may have.
Chris, do you want to start with questions?
And a question that came up when we talked about this in our last meeting is there are a number of things that come before us, or maybe a little less formal than some of the other commissions, I don't know, but the director often tends to ask us for, rather than taking a formal vote on something, because we'll have a situation where something's presented to us for a reaction. And so we have a discussion, and then we deliver our comments, and that's really our reaction. And there are times, not often, but there are times when, there are differences of view, and so that's part of the reaction is, okay, well, there are 5 commissioners and 3 of them like whatever it was and 2 of them didn't. The youth commissioners the ordinance states to be non-voting. But when we go to the kind of situation that I'm describing, to what extent do their views get added into ours? Are we suddenly a group of 7? And then, well, okay, 4 of the 7 like this and 3 of the 7 didn't, and maybe you've got both youth commissioners on one side, or maybe you've got a split. Is that the intent? And that their informal vote counts in that situation, or is this a question of them being more in a sort of observer status, which is another way of reading the meaning of non-voting?
I think that's a good question and one that may evolve over time, but what I can say from a legal perspective is that the record would be like, for example, the minutes of the commission meeting would of course include the comments from the non-voting members. But when it comes time to make a decision with a vote, because of the way the ordinance is worded, their vote would not count towards a formal action. So I think that's where the delineation happens, that when there is advice sought from the council, from the commission, certainly the non-voting members' thoughts, opinions could be put into policy decisions, like there maybe how to word a resolution. But when it comes time to the formal actions of voting, I think that's where the line is drawn, and the ordinance is very clear that they are not to be voting members. So when you ask, are they to be observers? I would not go to that extreme, because I think they should participate in discussion. And
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's more a question of, okay, we have on the agenda tonight, I think we're just getting an update on the off-leash dog park. But this could have been presented to us as here's the plan for the off-leash dog park. What do you think?
Right.
And that's often how things come to us is, well, what do you think? And we talk about it, and well, okay, there was a discussion, and there were so many commissioners who indicated that they thought this was a good idea, and there were so many who didn't. That's where I want to know. Clearly, we are the youth commissioners are meant to be part of the discussion,
Mhm.
but are they part of that sort of informal nose counting?
Perhaps, but I think that may be something to discuss internally with your commission. And then I would say that a straw poll would not technically violate this non-voting ordinance. But then again, I think there's room for the commission to decide that question about when it comes time for a formal vote. It's very clear to me that the ordinance says the youth commissioners should not, but then when it's less formal, I think maybe that's a discussion topic for you all.
So it's kind of up to us, at least initially, to.
Perhaps, and then also for agenda making purposes, we should be clear, I think, when we're asking for commission input. Are we asking for the formal voting, recommendation to rename a park? Yes or no? That's a clear one. Are we, asking for guidance in how to word something and how to craft a policy? That may be where we can rely more on their input without a formal vote. So I think it's going to be case specific to what they're deciding. And also, you raise a great point that when the agenda is being formulated and the staff recommendation is coming before you, maybe that's where it needs to be delineated about what kind of action the commission is taking to draw those lines.
Thank you. That's the only question I have.
No questions.
I also have no questions.
Great. Well, very nice to meet you all.
Oh, wait, we have to do public comment,
Oh,
right?
sorry. Yes, you're right. I should know that.
Just in case.
Yes, we do. For that, or can I just open it up?
Yep.
All
Just
right,
open it right up.
open it up for public comment. Is anyone here to speak on the youth commissioners?
We do not have any hands raised at this time.
Okay, public comment is closed.
Now you can get up. Thank you.
Any final comments from the commission?
No.
Thank you, Nazarene.
No. Okay. Item number 4, Central Park Dog Off Leash Area Trial Update. Yes, please take it away.
Yes, I'm happy to. I know I mentioned at the tail end of last meeting an update that we had started a trial out at Central Park. It's not technically a dog off leash area because there's some temporary fencing around it. However, if the temporary fencing goes down, I want people to know that the dog would be off leash in the area. So, we were working through, the nuance of that. But it's over in the area that is the same location that the train runs. It's on the inner part of the track. And we opened it up on May 1st with, like I said, some temporary fencing that the parks maintenance crew installed with a gate and a ramp over the tracks. And we're really looking at the commingling of the train and the dog off leash area and how that all works out. It's afternoon hours only through September. To date, we haven't had any complaints or negative feedback. Staff go out there, intermittently to see how things are working. Was out there yesterday. There were 3 dogs in the area at the scheduled time. Would be happy to answer any questions that you might have in regard to it. Oh, yes, and there's public comment as well that is before you regarding the item.
Any questions? We'll start with Eric this time.
We used to have the off leash at the baseball field in the morning only. Is that still active?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And do we have doggy bags out there?
We do.
Okay. Do we have garbage cans?
We
Okay. Then I don't think I have any other questions other than I'm just excited to see more off leash dog areas there.
Yeah.
And I'll reserve more for comments there.
Any questions, Chris?
No, I saw the public comment and I'm seeing it again tonight. And it seems as though the staff has got some good ideas, but it seems like that's sort of for maybe phase 2 of this, where we're actually going to establish an off-leash dog area as opposed to we're just going to try it out kind of with what's there.
Yeah.
So food for a lot of thought if we're going to go, if we go forward with this. What is the plan as far as the trial is now in action for about a month? How long are you planning to do the trial and what happens?
Well, so the
Yes.
conundrum is our train that runs at the park is currently debunked. So they're working on getting that back up and running. And so the real idea is to make sure that the 2 areas can kind of coexist. And so that has been yet to occur. And so we are scheduling through September, hoping that the train, is fixed and back up and running. But if that doesn't happen, there would be an extension, just because I think it's very important to make sure that those 2 things work together. So that's the anticipated date is really kind of looming. We did a 4-month trial just because we thought that was ample time to figure things out. But again, we hit a little bit of a snafu as it started. So I think that we will continue to extend the trial until we're able to observe some more data on the coexistence. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You touched a little bit on my question. So when you said this is for afternoons, is that 7 days a week?
It is.
Okay, and the train, although I love it, has never had a schedule really posted. It was kind of whenever.
So it does.
The
So,
operator,
yes,
okay.
So it is 11 to 3.
Okay.
And I think that there is some prep time before the train starts running in order to get the train out of storage and onto the track and such. And then there's some cleanup time. So we buffered in some time after 3 o'clock. So it's 11 to 3 is the operational time. It's not always during the week. In the regular months, it's more during the week in the summer months, and then every weekend. And so that's why we chose 4 o'clock as a start time for the afternoon hours. And we wanted to still just emphasize the morning hours on the Fitzgerald Field for the dog off leash area, which they're kind of two different types of areas, really. One is a bigger area that the dogs can really run, and one's more of a confined area. So we thought it was important to still have both options available. But as far as having morning hours there, I think that could work, but we're just trying to, again, take a little bite at a time to make sure that we're, moving along in a way that makes sense. And the request really came from the public for afternoon hours. So that's why we focused that time. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's it for me. So we will open it up to public comment. If you'd like to make comments about the Central Park dog off leash area trial update, please raise your hand. Or push *9 if you're on the telephone.
Okay, we do have one member of the public. Kendall, if you can please unmute yourself.
Sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Kendall, if you can give us 1 minute, we can't hear you.
Hello?
With this, nope. Nothing is muted, so I'm not sure.
Hello?
Sorry, Kendall, we still can't hear you. We're working on it. Gonna be too feedback to listen to it through your
Yeah.
laptop. Okay.
Let me see.
Call my cell and I can put it on speaker potentially.
Yeah. Let's see. Kendall, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Won't work. Okay. Maybe.
Well, try it when you're not speaking, maybe.
Can you turn off your mic on your computer?
It is turned off.
Okay.
That's the speaker on the screen is not
Picking that up.
working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me- Kendall, I just sent you an email with my phone number if you want to call off the phone, and I will try and put you on speaker.
I think maybe we give 1 or 2 minutes. to
Yeah,
give it a call,
right.
and then maybe we
Move on
just
to
push it
comments. Yeah,
over.
yeah, or we can move on to comments. She can always submit her comments through the email, and we can add it to the packet as public. It's just an update. We can definitely bring it back next month and give another update. So happy to do whatever works.
Yeah, I mean, you're, good point. She could come next month and
Yeah.
just comment in the
Yes.
general public comment
Yeah.
period too. Kendall, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can see that you're talking, but we can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay, I think what we'll do, apologies for the technical problems. If you want to submit an email or, call the Parks and Rec line to make a comment, you're more than welcome to do that. If you'd like to join us next month and comment in the general public comment period, we would welcome you back. So I'm going to open this up to commission comments. Eric.
I'm excited to see a dog park in the evenings at Central Park as an option. Going back to the Central Park master plan, dog park was something that was entertained. And unfortunately, it was it did not make the final cut. It was entertained over along Laurel Avenue, and the residents in the retirement community across the street came out in mass and spoke against it. And they were concerned about parking and other things, which I think that's nice about this is that there's a trial. That was like what is the worst that could happen if you put this in the plan? And this gives you a trial so that you can experience that. And I would say if for whatever reason this site doesn't work, that I would also say, go ahead and consider doing a trial on Laurel Avenue and say, we're doing a trial. There was concerns before about the noise. Potentially, it's not an issue. Because there's very few dogs that bark nonstop when they're out at the dog park. We used to go to the Seal Point one quite often, and it was not a very, very loud environment. But I do think it's great to have the off leash spot. If it becomes a final thing, I think whatever fencing solution needs to have a bit of a mesh to keep balls, even though it's a small area. People will still throw a ball, and you want to keep it from going onto the track and being something that they have to clean up all the time, or not see and run over and have problems that way. And probably just a very low fence would do it, or screening down low would do it, just to keep it from rolling onto those tracks. And also I was thinking, when we do a trial for something, and then it goes away or becomes permanent, people's memories sometimes forget what was there before or whatnot. And so potentially, I would say, just as a cautionary comment, to think about, and maybe there already is, there might already be a plaque there about the history of the train being there. But if there isn't, to put something there that states the history of the train going back like 100 years or however long the train has been there, that the train was there first, the train is a beloved part, and that this is an added thing, so that in the event that we pass the trial and we say, yes, let's go forward with this, that it becomes a problem in the future, you've set expectations that this is train first, not dog park first. But I think we've had speakers in the past come and talk about the need for a dog park in this area. I've always supported that notion. I think it's a great location for it. And quite honestly, there's people that have their dogs off leash in the park already, and it at least gives a way to say, I mean, not supposed to have their dogs off leash, but you could, you further say, look, go to the off leash part, and it's open in the evenings because people walk their dogs in the evenings and have them off leash and throw a ball in the middle of the main grass. But I think it's great. I think there should be more off leash dog parks everywhere. I think they're good for recreation. I think for all ages. I think for older people, dogs are a main source of companionship, and they get them out of the house, and having an off leash spot helps that. So I'm fully in support of it.
Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot to add to your comments, which I think are very complete and with which I largely agree. I'm going to be very interested to see how this experiment progresses, and to talking further about it when we have more sort of experience with how it's going.
Thank you. I also agree and would like, I'm waiting to hear what the feedback is. It does kind of seem like a small area, so I'm curious how that works out. And I was not aware of the history on the Laurel side, but that did come up as a space where I thought, that's a good space for that. So I'll be interested to hear if there's more thinking on that as well. Okay. Moving on to item 5, election of officers. Okay, so typically this is the time of year that we rotate or change our positions, but Chris brought up a great point that Eric's leaving us. There's only 2 remaining commissioners at this meeting, so perhaps we want to carry this over to the next meeting. I think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll keep all the positions, and Lindsay can have her last hurrah as the chair as we vote her back in next time. So we are anticipating a July meeting since it's July 5th, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is not great, considering 4th of July is the day before, and we have our big event at Central Park. And then we have concert in the park the day after. So it remains to be seen. I think that if there's bandwidth, we can certainly move forward, but this is my first time being here for this time of year. And I know traditionally it is canceled for the 4th of July, for the July meeting, for the summer meeting. So if we have items to bring forward, we will try and schedule it. But at this point in time, I think I would anticipate canceling.
I will not be here.
Okay.
I'll say in my reviewing of my archives, it hasn't always been canceled.
Oh, really? Okay, good to know. I will need you to pull in with your historical perspective from time to time.
I found a July agenda.
Oh, did you?
And then
All
it's
right.
like July 1st.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I will be here, but I am very much in favor of the idea of canceling it unless you feel that
Okay.
it really, really has to happen.
Yeah, I think that if we do have something, it'll likely be a special meeting and we'll try and get a quorum because that's a hard week to get people because of the holiday too. So, but thank you for the feedback.
All right, and our item 6 is postponed to a future meeting. Next up is reports and announcements.
Yes, so I have a few, like I always do. So we just finished a resurfacing project at the Lori Meadows Dog Park, where we put in some decomposed granite. So that was an in-house project, took a couple weeks, but it turned out really nice. An additional thing that has happened is we got pickleball striping out at the Central Park tennis courts on 3 of the courts. So we now have 6 pickleball courts. Right now it is on a drop-in, first come, first served basis. We haven't got nets, so you would have to bring your own net for now. So we're working on how we're gonna roll that program out. So that's still in the works. We just received on Friday our 95% construction documents for Central Park.
Yay.
And we are still at 75% construction documents with East Hillsdale. And I know you are all very interested in the construction plan that is still being vetted as part of the 95% process. So as soon as I have more information on all of that, I will alert the commission. Our annual park survey closes on June 25th. We've gotten a lot of great responses so far, but we still have a few weeks to go. Our summer concert series starts on June 22nd. Next week, camps and aquatics start up, so it's a busy time of year. A reminder that the 4th of July celebration is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Central Park. So hope to see everybody there. And then our interviews for your vacancy, Eric, are scheduled for later this month. So just wanted to keep everybody abreast of all that. That's all I have.
Question about the vacancy spot. So interviews and then would be city council in July, probably?
Yes, and it will likely be, I think it's only one meeting in July. I think it's just the later July 17th meeting. So yeah, it would be until August until the new member would be appointed, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other reports or announcements from the commissioners? We did another bike repair event in Ryder Park last weekend and fixed 28 bikes. So our Central Park events are, upwards of 60. So that's definitely a good location.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Great.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Great.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much. I'm so bummed that we get to work together more
Yeah.
than
It's okay.
meetings, but really appreciate your service. 9 years, goodness.
I think, so I took over for someone that left,
Oh,
which I think,
that's why you got. the
which I
extra
think
year.
was Lindsay that left.